All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A, your daily source of coffee Q&A here on the Coffee channel. I'm your host, Jay. We're here most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So how y'all doing? Welcome back to the show. Oh, no, that's darn thing. Hold on a second. There is a setting on the camera that we're using for the live stream here that requires me to hit a button. Otherwise, it starts to transmit some of the data through the HDMI signal. So one of the things that happens is that cameras that you use for live streaming, you want to have an output that runs through HDMI that runs to a switcher so that you can send it out. And what people want is a clean HDMI, what we call clean. So there's no data. Like if you ever look on a screen, there's all this data on it. Sometimes it shows the focus rate. What's going on? So we're here talking today about donuts. So about 3 years ago, I was in Saudi Arabia visiting a friend of mine, Ahmed Bahab, who was the 2019 barista champion of Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if he's still there, but at the time he was working for a place called Pause Coffee Roasters in Riyadh. And he was giving me a tour of their stuff and what they're doing and feeding me all kinds of the foods they had. And they made this donut that has been stuck in my mind ever since. And I was like, I need to make this. Kyoni, Allah to you, man. Good to see you. And I was like, thinking about it. I decided finally, now we're getting ready to open, maybe let's do some testing with it to see just how it is and how we can recreate it. What it is, it's a Nutella donut or Za'atar donut. So it's basically a donut that has stuff with Nutella that has olive oil and Za'atar. And if you're not familiar with Za'atar is this spice blend that's in the Middle East that's super popular. It's used in almost everything. Actually, one of my friends, Eche, from Turkey, she gave me this. She was like, one day she's like, you need to have Za'atar at your home. And I was like, so she's like, use mine. And I was like, oh, thank you, Eche. I appreciate that. Shukran, Eche. Shukran. So what is it? So this is the, let me zoom in some here. This is the basic spice blend of the Za'atar, and it's very fragrant, very aromatic, very like savory smelling, right? So you've got in here, we've got probably oregano. You can see there's some sesame seeds for sure. So typically it's oregano, thyme, maybe some marjoram, and also some sumac. And sumac is this, you're probably familiar with poison sumac. It's not that. I think it's related to that, but there's another sumac that's kind of this fruitiness, and that'll be a separate one. It doesn't seem like there's sumac in this one, though. There might be, but you can get the sumac separately. And if you eat a lot of Middle Eastern dishes, it's got this like tangy pungency to it, and it's ground very finely like this. And you put that on like your kebab or whatever. You put that on everything. This you'll put on like, if you're eating shawarma or something, you're putting this all over it. So really a staple of the Middle East. And they use that as a topping on their donut. And I was like, well, that sounds great. Now, I was thinking about how we do donuts at the new shop if we're going to do this, right? So it's a question of like, I'm not building a full-on kitchen like we used to have because I don't want to really go back into bakery operations. So I went to one of my bakers in the area, a place called Simon's. We've had some of their donuts on here before. And I said to the baker one day, I was like, hey, could you bake me some, the jelly donuts, but without the jelly? He's like, you just want the shells? I was like, yeah. Can you make me the shells? And I'll pick them up on Wednesday. And he's like, yeah, of course. So I drove down there this morning, picked up this box of donut shells, and we're going to try to make it and see how they turn out and see if this might be a viable option for making this style of donut. But I'll bring you along the journey so you can see what we're talking about. All right, so here is our box of donuts. Now, I don't know what it is, but like it's an old school bakery thing, and I think I've even seen it in the new school bakeries. But this cellophane tape or whatever it is, Dan, good morning to you. This is a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy by bakers, at least across America. You cannot just simply pull on it and it'll come off like Scotch tape. This is super serious tape that you must peel or cut and it refuses to move. It's you know, I guess if you want to protect your baked goods for, and then they always put 3, which just drives me insane. See, like this one, you know, I'm just gonna cut off because it's very. I get very frustrated with this thing. All right, so let's open this up here. I told them that let's have 6 donuts. So we've got 6 shells here. Oops. So 6 shells. I did open them up a little bit and put a slice in because I was thinking, like, I've never really worked with this. But as you can see, these are raised donuts that are, you know, fried. You can see they're fried one side and then flipped over and fried the other. That's why there's always a ring. You can always tell if they're fried. And you can also smell. They have that nice, like, fried dough smell. That oil. I just love that oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these. We're going to make the donut. We're going to fill it. And what I did earlier before we started the show, and that makes it harder to show you, but it would be hard to show because I don't have the setup with the cameras. But I went ahead and made some Nutella chantilly. So basically, it's a real simple way to do this. We got the Nutella, right? There's Nutella. And Peter says, Hawaii Kawaii. Oh, nice. Cute Hawaii. Excellent. So basically, we're taking the Nutella. I think in the video, like I put a link in the video down below in the description to the actual video that I first tried this in. And I think they're just piping Nutella into the show. We could try that as well. But I want something a little bit softer, maybe something easier to pipe in. And one thing to keep in mind, when most bakery operations, when they're using shells like this, they actually have this machine, right? This machine that has a pump built into it. And they've got this little hopper on top. Kind of looks like a coffee hopper almost, right? Like an espresso machine hopper, espresso grinder hopper. And you put the filling, like your jelly or whatever you want, the cream filling, and it goes into the machine and it pumps it. And on the side of the machine is this big kind of syringe-looking thing. And what you do is you don't have to cut a hole. You just stick this in, hit the button or the foot switch, and it fills it. And then you do your dipping or whatever. Super easy. Today we don't have that, so that's why I've taken the chantilly and I put it into a bag. This is a Nutella chantilly, simple, really simple to make. Basically, you're just taking heavy whipping cream, whipping it hard until it reaches the stiff peaks, then adding a couple of teaspoons of the Nutella, whipping that again until it stays, and then that incorporates throughout. Now, what we got to do is we want to pipe it in. So let's cut off our tip here fairly. Oops. It's probably too big. So the idea now is we're going to take, I've already cut a little slit in here. So I'm going to shove this in the hole and then squirt the cream into the hole. Oh, it's kind of filled up a little bit. There we go. And it kind of expanded a little bit. There we have our cream filling. Nice. We can do, let's get a plate for this. Or actually, let me get the tray. Oops. I've got a tray here that we're going to use with a tray with a little grate. This way we can sit it down and have something to work on. Now, here's the thing. So you see this side has holes in it. This side is smooth. This is going to be our top. We're going to put that aside here. And then we're going to take another one. Now, these, like I said, they don't have holes in them. That one did because I took a knife earlier. I just found the spot that looked like it should have a hole. And then I'm just going to put the hole, I'm just cutting it in with the knife. And what I'm going to do is also I'm going to like saw a little bit because I don't really know how big the interior is. So I just want to saw just to break up the cell structure inside here so that I can shove the tip back in. Make sure you get it as far as you can. And then start to make sure you got that locked in and then squeeze. Then come back out. You can feel it filling. You can actually feel it in between your fingers filling. Oh, it's a little bit escaping there, a little bit escaping. And again, our bottom and our top. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. I'm enjoying sticking this into the hole. Okay, again, cut it open a little bit. Of course, this is not as, what do you call it? And then always make sure you, otherwise it starts to get not so nice. The nice thing is I'm using these disposable pastry bags. These are so much like simpler. You just pull them out of a box. They're all like rolled up, and then, you know, you can just do your thing with it. Okay, back in the hole again. And then what I'm going to do, this time I'm going to cross around like this, right? As I squeeze, I'm going to make sure that I get all the cream inside. Come back a little bit, just make sure that we're getting a lot in there. And then just keep going. Oh, and now you see coming out. Oh, it's coming, it's oozing out. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the cream. We're going to put the cream to the side. Oh, I got so much cream left over. Okay, so those are our three. You know what we're going to do? Let us also, I want to try making one that has just the Nutella straight up. So let's get that together too. I just need to always make sure that as you're working, you want to wipe up and clean up your space so that you're as good as can be. Okay, we're going to put this aside here. Get another shell. Cut another hole in it. Where's the good side? Okay, we're going there with the hole. Now this one, I'm going to have to be make sure that I'm a little bit aggressive with the cutting and, you know, the insertion, because the problem with Nutella as just its own product by itself is that it's rather, it is softer, right? Like it's not, this is not refrigerated. I just went to the, Michael, good morning. I just went to the grocery store this morning and picked this up. So it's fairly, but hopefully, but it's going to be harder to get in that hole. I'm going to split it just a little bit so that we can get better filling. Now, this is where, if you use the Nutella as itself, like this, you're going to want to use some kind of insertion device, right? To really shove it in there and fill it up with this brown stuff, because it's really tight, right? It's really tight. You know, it's, I guess, you know, these aren't really designed for this kind of insertion, right? Because, yeah. And put more of that in there. Hopefully we're getting enough all the way around. All right, not as pretty. Every time you go this way, it's not as pretty. It's a little bit fudgy like this. All right, hopefully that's enough. Hopefully I've packed this enough. I'm gonna put that on the side. Okay, good. Good. Now, the reason I did more than just one or two is because there's a couple of variations I wanted to try on this. And one of the things is, okay, so I think the way that they had it in the actual video is that they just use olive oil as a coating and then use the za'atar on top. This time I want to make an olive oil glaze. So it's not just olive oil, but something a little bit sweeter. And then we'll try the two. We'll just do the comparison to see. And CUNY says, and better Nutella custard would be nice too. Oh, yeah, that would be nice. Next time I'll have to make the custard. I don't have the time for that at the moment. Nor do I have the eggs. Okay, so what we're gonna do is for the glaze. If glazes are relatively simple, we just need confectioner's sugar, like the 10 times confectioner's sugar you can see here. We just need some of this. Now you can measure, there's definitely, you can take time to measure it and do it a certain way. But today we're just kind of going to eyeball it. What we're doing really now is just to give us an idea on how this might work. But the general way of doing it is very simple. We're going to add just a little bit of hot water. So I've got some hot water boiling here in our kettle. And now we're just going to add it in. Just a little bit of, oh, you know what I should do? I should put this down here so that we don't scald it. Be a shame if I scalded the countertop. So just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit is all we need. Like I said, we're just making a glaze. We don't want it to be... And you can make the glaze as light or as thick as you want. Like this is fairly... I don't know. I tend to think this is fairly... It's nicer if you use a whisk. But like I said, it will always hydrate. Sugar will always hydrate and emulsify into solution. You just have to be patient. Although, the problem with confectioners, it is a bit clumpy. So I just want to wait for that to hydrate completely. I'm tempted to hit it with more water, but I think that's plenty of... Yeah, that's more than enough. Okay, one of the other things we want to do is we want to make an olive oil glaze. So I've got a little bit of olive oil. We're just going to add the olive oil into the mix. Oops. That should be about right. Okay, this will work for our purposes today. Let us go here. So we've got our regular cream filled, 3 regular cream filled, and 1 Nutella filled. Maybe for the Nutella, we'll do half and half. Okay, so now we're going to take the glaze, the olive oil glaze, and we're just going to pour it on top of this. This is why we put it on here, because we'll let it fly over. And then one of the things, it is beating off, so that's probably a bad thing. Then the glazing of the Za'atar on top, very nice. The other one we talked about, we wanted to just do regular olive oil. So just a little bit of olive oil on top here. We'll let that roll off as well. Right? And then Za'atar as well. We can even shake it off. So we've got olive oil glaze, and then this one is the Nutella one. I'm going to put half glaze. And half olive oil. And then Za'atar. We'll see how that tastes. So we've got olive oil on that one. Let's do the glaze on this one as well. Can you see that? We're going to use all up now, all up there. All right, and Za'atar. Za'atar goes on everything, right? Za'atar. Very nice, very nice. Okay, there it is. This is our Nutella Za'atar donut that was originally inspired by the Za'atar donut that I had in Saudi Arabia at Paws Coffee Roasters in Riyadh. Okay, we're going to let these sit for a moment while we finish our brewing. And, well, of course, this is a coffee show. We need coffee. All right, so now let us get some coffee ready. Scale. Oops. Today we're just going to use our standard basic House Nation coffee here, which is right now we're just the Guatemala that we've been using. I'm going to grind this one fresh. I was going to use some of the ones from yesterday, but all right, 22 grams. That's all I have left. We're going to use that. We're going to use 300 25 grams of coffee, and we're gonna change. I'm gonna change it over to. It's a little bit out of the way here, so I'm just gonna grind it off camera. Keone says, looks good. Thank you. Thank you. I hope we're going to find out how it tastes in a few minutes. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm hoping for good results because when I tried it in Saudi, I was totally blown away by it. I was like, wow, Ben, this is really excellent. And like I said, I've been thinking about it for the last couple of years. Today, we're going to brew with the Mugen. I was thinking about the Mugen, and I thought we had one. And then when you guys were talking about yesterday with like Peter having his issue with the switch and then trying a different funnel in there. And then somebody else said that they had tried, I think they said they used the Mugen. So I was like, I was going through the bottles in my box and I found the Mugen and I was like, oh, I thought I had a Mugen. So there's the Mugen. We're going to use this today with the Hario V60 filters. Yeah. Dan says, never thought Za'atar would work with food. Yeah, it was, leave it to a Saudi-based baker to figure that out. I mean, it was really this woman who was the baker for Pause. She's the one that figured this out. I would never have thought. I was actually kind of freaked out by it originally when they were like, yeah, it's Za'atar. And I was like, Za'atar on a donut? I was like, what? But man, I was really. All right, so let's get our coffee together. I'm gonna put this in. Keone says, yes, the Mugen fits on the bottom of the switch. It does. I think we did that on one of the shows, from what I recall. I could be wrong. Okay, there we are. Let me just make sure the water is nice and boily. Bring it back up to temperature. Now, in the video, you'll see the coffee that I had on the show with the donut was actually something they call the Spanish latte. And you know how lattes are really popular here in the United States? Well, in Saudi or in the Middle East, something called the Spanish latte is very popular there. And it's essentially sweetened condensed milk with espresso and I think milk, and it's all icy down, and everybody loves it there. Everybody loves it. And it's also the one that the specialty coffee baristas hate to make because, it's the great antithesis to, coffee beauty, or the great Satan within coffee. All right, so here we go. We're gonna brew right away. All right. We're getting definitely more bloom than we did on yesterday's 10-year-old frozen coffee. I received a comment from one of our viewers. They was like, probably worked better if it was vacuum sealed. I said, what, you're right. It probably would have worked better. But I wasn't expecting to actually do any kind of testing with it like this. It's just one of those things that, it's just been sitting in your closet or in the refrigerator or the freezer, and you just like notice, oh, how old is that? Oh, 10 years. Terrible. All right, here we go. We're rolling. We're a little bit ahead of the curve today. When I think about things like the Deep 27 or the Time More, something like this, the Mugen seems massively large, right? Like, since we're only doing like one cup at a time, it's like, wow, it really just feels big, right? The whole thing just feels big. Not that that's a bad thing. I just suddenly noticed that now. All right, 195 or 130. We're definitely pouring faster than we normally do. Partially because I think I'm excited to try the donut and I don't want to wait too long. We might not have, by the way, we might not do 5 live streams next week. We might not have a live stream next Friday, the 13th, I think it is. working on they've asked me to come and speak at a coffee show, the Colorado Coffee Show. It's a one-day show in Denver. And I'm trying to work the schedule out to see if I can really do it. All right, 268, 230. So it's, you know, as we're going through it, I guess the filter is getting the more minor sediments that's getting a little bit slower, a little bit clogged, so it's slowing down the flow. So we're missing 2 grams. We have 22 grams instead of 24, so we'll probably stop at 230. I mean 330. Or 325. There we go. Just at 3 minutes now. So, all right. I think personally, as I'm looking here at the donuts from a distance, right, I'm feeling that maybe if this works, that if we bring it to production, I think the glaze has to be thicker. I want to make a thicker glaze. I think it's a little bit too light, too runny. Just by visual. All right, so visually speaking, I think we're done here. 3 minutes, 36 seconds. All right. Just take that out. Then the Mugen is clean. Put that in the sink, and we've got our elixir here, the Guatemala Huehuetenango. Looks good. Looks good. Not as good. Maybe too hot. Not bad. Could be better. Could be better. All right, let's get into our tasting here. This is our... Actually, what I need to do is I also need to shoot some promo pictures, right? You know, this is what I neglect mostly as a YouTuber, is actually getting thumbnails and enough images for what we're doing. All right, now we're ready. Let's try, we're gonna try this one here. This one is the filled with the glaze. Oh no, is this the glaze? No, that's the one with just the, oh, that does have the glaze. This is the one with the you know. So we've got the Nutella Chantilly, the olive oil glaze, and the Za'atar on top. So let's give it a try. Okay. Let me look here. Let's look here. You can see here the filling, the Za'atar. Now, honestly, I don't feel that it's as pronounced as I would like. I would like it to be a little bolder. The cream, the Chantilly is nice and sweet. Needs more Nutella. The Za'atar is pretty good. All right, let's do just the olive oil without the olive oil glaze. That's what this one is. Peter says, maybe I should be a YouTuber too. Yes, if you're going to make food videos, you might as well be a YouTuber. Might as well. Might as well. All right, so this is the glaze with the chantilly and the za'atar. I mean, not the glaze. This is just the olive oil. And of course, one of the things that you're going to have to play with, that we will play with, is that what kind of olive oil are we using? What are the ingredients? So, for example, this particular olive oil is a nice olive oil that I use a lot for general cooking. I get it from Lidl, which is a nice, German national brand, relatively affordable. But for like a little more nicer cooking, I would use I actually get another one called Dimitri, which is a local family here that has olive orchards in Greece. They press their own, they import it here. I just didn't have the chance to pick up some before today's show. So, because I had to go to PA yesterday to pick up some wood, and then it's kind of far. All right, so let's try this with just the olive oil and the za'atar and the chantilly. Definitely without the glazing with the olive oil, it's more savory. But I think, like if you look here, right? The savory from the za'atar is good. It gives a nice offset. There's the chantilly, and then here's the crumb, right? The crumb of the donut. The problem here is that this chantilly is not flavorful enough to stand up to this amount of crumb. Like the crumb is a lot, right? In a ratio sense. So not very thrilling. More novelty at the moment than something exciting. Okay, now we've got the two bites here. We've got the Nutella, just straight up Nutella inserted into it. We've got half olive oil, half olive oil glaze, and then za'atar around. So we're going to try that and see, does that improve the balance, right? Like, because with these two, it's mostly donut, right? There's not enough force from the Nutella chantilly at the moment to really kind of, bring balance to the force, right? So this one, we'll bite from the sweet side first, the what do you call it? The glaze side, the bottom half. Let me just shoot a little photo of that for my posterity. All right, and since it has the straight up Nutella, will that? I think in the video you'll see that the filling was straight up Nutella. I just want to make something a little bit softer. Okay, that's fairly good. See, the thing is that I had when I had the one in Saudi, and maybe now it's not novel, right? Because I had the one in Saudi, and that's what I'm basing this on. But it was much more revelatory than this last bite. But if we look here, it could also be that you can see the filling, the side wall here, the filling's up to there. And I did bite this part, so there's a lot of that. Maybe if I bite it here for the olive oil side, it'll be better. Let's try. So the Nutella is better, right? It's thicker. It's got more pronunciation. It has greater weight that balances out the crumb more. Right, look at that. But you know what? I don't know if I love it. I don't think I love it. I think I like this better than the rest. But it's good. Okay, that's good. With the olive oil, it's good. The coffee is nice because it balances that. It helps to offset that. But so I decided to go with Simon's because making donuts is difficult. Well, it just requires a lot of time. And I was like, well, this could be an easier way to do it, at least to test around. And I don't know if the Chantilly works as well. Perhaps if the Chantilly had more Nutella to really give it better pronunciation. I was trying to make it a little bit lighter in texture. But let's see here. If I just take some Nutella and we take this one that has the olive oil glaze and I put that here in not a very good proportion. And let's try that. Better. Another factor that I have to look at again at the video is that this is an American donut, which means that it's fairly big. And I think if you look at the video, you'll see the donut is probably half the size of this. So proportionally, it's smaller, and perhaps the balance is better because it's smaller. Like, here in America, we're all about big, which is not inherently better. Well, good thing my PCP doesn't watch this show. She'd be like, what are you doing? But the Za'atar actually, that last bite had nice flavor from the Za'atar and the glazing. All right. That's I don't know. No conclusions there because there's no conclusions to be drawn yet. Maybe the crumb is too much, right? Like, it's fairly thick. And here's something for you to consider. Like, the idea of eating donuts sounds like a great thing, but man, I could have a heart attack right here in front of you. All right. I guess that's going to be it for today. Thanks for tuning in. There's no conclusions. I think there's still need to be a little more testing. I do think that whatever the filling needs to be, whether it's straight up Nutella or some kind of Nutella Chantilly, it has to have more strength, more oomph, more flavor power to stand up to the crumb, because the crumb here is very thick, right? It's very thick. It needs a lot, right? It needs a lot. That's why I think in American donuts, like, let's say the jelly filling is so sweet, it needs to be sweet to stand up to that mass of bread that it has to go against. I think in a couple of bites, the Za'atar really came through well, like on this one. Maybe a thicker glaze would be good. But what I'm worried about with the glazing, right? And in general, is that I don't want it to be a donut that's super sweet. Like, American donuts are very sweet. There's already some sweetness in the dough. So we don't want to have too much sweetness. We have a nice balance, right? We have a nice balance. And that's what we're trying to, that's eventually what we'll try to figure out. But yeah, there it is. So tomorrow we're going to talk more about coffee and actually some of the things that I found out during our tasting over the weekend at the coffee and cigars pairing that we had at Capital Cigars. And I found some very interesting things that I wanted to share with you. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And Keone, good to see you. Mahalo to you for watching. Appreciate all of you guys being here. Peter, Dan, Michael, always good to see all of you. And back again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. And until then, oh, yo.